What if the world's most famous monuments are hiding secrets right in front of our eyes? Think about the last time you stood before an ancient structure, marveling at its grandeur. Did you ever stop to wonder if there was more to it than meets the eye? From the pyramids of Egypt to the cathedrals of Europe, history's greatest landmarks often whisper coded messages, symbols, and untold stories etched into their very foundations. These aren't just stones stacked by time, they're puzzles waiting to be solved, left behind by civilizations who wanted their truths to endure long after they were gone. Imagine walking through the halls of a centuries-old palace, running your fingers along its walls, and suddenly realizing the patterns carved into them aren't just decorative, they're a language. A language meant for those who know how to look. Some of these hidden messages were meant to honor gods, others to encode scientific knowledge, and a few, well, they might have been meant to guard secrets too dangerous to speak aloud. The deeper you dig, the clearer it becomes. These monuments weren't just built to impress, they were built to communicate across time. Today, we're setting off on a journey to uncover 25 of history's most enigmatic monuments and the cryptic clues they've left behind. Some of these messages were hidden by design, tucked away from prying eyes. Others were so obvious that we walked past them for centuries without seeing the truth. But one thing connects them all. They challenge us to look closer, to question what we think we know, and to listen to the echoes of the past. So, are you ready to decode the secrets hidden in plain sight? Let's begin. The Great Sphinx of Giza has watched over the desert for thousands of years, but its silent stare hides more questions than answers. That enigmatic smile carved into the limestone isn't just a work of ancient artistry, it's a riddle. Some researchers believe the Sphinx's body shows signs of water erosion, a clue that could rewrite history. If true, this monumental guardian might have stood there long before the pharaohs, surviving a time when the Sahara was lush and green. But the mysteries don't stop at its weathered surface. Beneath those massive paws, legends whisper of hidden chambers, tunnels leading to vast halls filled with lost knowledge. The most tantalizing theory, the so-called Hall of Records, said to hold the wisdom of a forgotten civilization buried deep under the Sphinx's shadow. Edgar Cayce, the famous psychic, even predicted its discovery, claiming it would reveal secrets about Atlantis. Modern technology has detected anomalies beneath the monument, possible cavities or passageways, but no definitive proof has emerged. Could these hollow spaces be the real Hall of Records or just natural formations? The Egyptian government has been hesitant to allow extensive excavations, leaving explorers and scholars to wonder. Then there's the debate over the Sphinx's missing nose. Popular myth blames Napoleon's troops, but historical records suggest it was gone centuries earlier. Some think it was deliberately removed, not by vandalism, but to silence the statue's symbolic power. Others argue it was simply worn away by time. Every chip and crack tells a story, and the Sphinx has kept its secrets well. One thing's certain, this isn't just a statue, it's a time capsule, and its true message might still be waiting beneath the sands. The Great Sphinx's gaze isn't just fixed on the horizon, it's locked onto the stars. Look closely at its alignment, and you'll find a celestial puzzle etched into the very orientation of this ancient sentinel. During the vernal equinox in the age of Leo, roughly 12,000 years ago, the Sphinx would have stared directly at the constellation Leo as it rose on the eastern horizon. This isn't coincidence, it's celestial choreography. The lion-bodied Sphinx mirroring the lion in the sky suggests something extraordinary, a monument not just to earthly kings but to cosmic time itself. What if the Sphinx was built as a marker, a giant stone clock tracking the slow wobble of Earth's axis known as precession? Ancient cultures like the Egyptians were obsessed with cyclical time, and the Sphinx's alignment with Leo hints at a knowledge of astronomy far older than we've credited. Some researchers, like geologist Robert Schoch, argue this could mean the Sphinx dates back to a civilization predating dynastic Egypt, one that understood the stars well enough to encode their movements into architecture. Then there's the Orion correlation theory, which ties the Sphinx to the pyramids and the belt of Orion. If true, the entire Giza plateau becomes a mirror of the night sky, a terrestrial map of celestial patterns frozen in stone. But why go to such lengths? Perhaps these alignments were meant as a warning or a guide, a way to preserve astronomical knowledge across millennia, ensuring future generations could decode the heavens even if written records were lost. Critics dismiss these ideas as fringe, pointing out that correlation doesn't equal intent. Yet the precision is hard to ignore. The Sphinx doesn't just face east, it's angled with mathematical exactness, as if its builders were whispering, "Look up, the answers are written in the stars." Whether it's a time capsule from a forgotten age or simply a pharaoh's ego carved in stone, one thing's clear: the Sphinx keeps its secrets locked in both earth and sky. And until we learn to read both, its greatest message remains just out of reach. Standing at the base of the Great Pyramid of Giza, you're not just looking at a tomb, you're facing a mathematical marvel carved in stone. Every angle, every measurement, every precisely aligned corridor whispers a secret. These builders weren't just stacking blocks, they were encoding knowledge. Take the pyramid's base, a near-perfect square with sides matching to within inches across its 756-foot length. But the real magic lies in the numbers. Divide the pyramid's perimeter by twice its height, and you get pi, the mathematical constant accurate to 3 decimal places. Coincidence or a deliberate message left in geometry? Then there are the shafts. Tiny, narrow passages snake their way from the so-called king's and queen's chambers, piercing through millions of tons of stone to point at specific stars. The southern shaft from the king's chamber targets Orion's belt, while the queen's chamber shafts align with Sirius and the pole star Alpha Draconis. These weren't just ventilation channels, they were celestial highways linking the pharaoh's afterlife journey to the cosmos. Ancient Egyptians believed the stars housed their gods and the souls of the departed. By aligning the pyramids with such precision, they may have been building a stairway to heaven itself. But here's where it gets controversial. Some researchers argue the pyramids encode advanced knowledge like the speed of light. Take the pyramid's latitude, 29.9792 degrees north. In meters per second, the speed of light is 299792458. The match is startling, but is it intentional? Skeptics call it numerology, pointing out that with so many measurements, random alignments are inevitable. Yet the pyramid's architects clearly understood sacred geometry, from the golden ratio in its proportions to the way its sides slightly concave, creating an optical illusion of perfect straightness from any distance. Then there's the mystery of the missing capstone. Ancient texts describe the pyramid crowned with a gleaming gold or electrum peak, reflecting the sun like a beacon. Was it looted, or was its removal part of a larger design? Some theorists suggest the capstone acted as a conductor, turning the pyramid into a massive energy amplifier or even a communication device. Modern experiments show the pyramid's shape can concentrate electromagnetic energy in its chambers, a property the ancients might have harnessed in ways we're only beginning to grasp. Whether the pyramids were tombs, power plants, or star maps, one thing's undeniable: they were built to last. The mortar between the stones remains chemically unidentifiable, harder than the blocks it binds. The core masonry shows no chisel marks, as if the stones were molded rather than cut. Even more puzzling, the pyramid's sides align almost perfectly with true north, south, east, and west, an achievement requiring tools or knowledge that shouldn't have existed 4,500 years ago. So were the pyramids just grand tombs, or were they something more? A library of stone, a message to the future, or perhaps a machine we've forgotten how to turn on? The deeper you look, the clearer it becomes. These aren't just piles of rock. They're a conversation across time, waiting for us to decipher the next line. Deep beneath the Great Pyramid's towering limestone facade lies a mystery modern technology has only begun to uncover. In 2017, scientists using advanced muon radiography, a technique that essentially X-rays stone with cosmic rays, stumbled upon something astonishing: a colossal, previously unknown void just above the Grand Gallery. Dubbed the Big Void, this hidden chamber stretches nearly 100 feet long, its purpose as enigmatic as the pyramid itself. Is it a structural buffer to redistribute the pyramid's immense weight? A sealed repository for lost artifacts, or something far more unexpected? Some researchers speculated could be a second Grand Gallery, perhaps leading to an undiscovered burial chamber. Others suggest it might house construction equipment left behind by the builders, an ancient tool cache frozen in time. But the most tantalizing theory: that this void contains inscribed tablets or relics meant to guide the pharaoh's soul, intentionally hidden from grave robbers and time alike. The pyramid's known chambers already defy explanation. The subterranean pit beneath its foundation, roughly carved and abruptly abandoned, hints at a sudden change in plans. The Queen's Chamber, once thought devoid of hieroglyphs, was found to harbor hidden red ochre markings, numerical tallies, or builders' notes invisible to the naked eye. And the Grand Gallery's soaring corbelled walls, their precise angles suggest acoustic engineering, possibly designed to amplify ritual chants or even generate harmonic resonance. Robotic explorations have only deepened the intrigue. In 2012, a robotic camera sent up a narrow shaft in the Queen's Chamber revealed a tiny door with copper handles. Behind it lay a second, rougher door, and beyond that, tantalizingly out of reach, a chamber's corner just visible. What lies sealed behind those barriers? Scrolls, treasures, or perhaps the ultimate blueprint explaining why this pyramid was truly built? Egyptologists remain divided. Mainstream scholarship insists the pyramid's secrets are architectural, not mystical. Yet the precision of these hidden spaces, their alignments, their mathematical purity hints at intentional design. Why go to such lengths to conceal empty rooms? Unless, of course, they aren't empty at all. With each technological breakthrough, we peer deeper into the pyramid's shadowy heart. And the more we see, the clearer it becomes. The greatest wonders of Giza may still be waiting in the dark. Stonehenge's towering stones have stood silent for millennia, but what if they weren't meant to be silent at all? Modern researchers have discovered something extraordinary when struck. The monument's bluestones produce a deep, resonant clang, almost metallic in tone. This isn't just a curious quirk, it's a clue. Archaeoacoustics experts suggest that Stonehenge might have been designed as a giant sound chamber, with its arrangement amplifying and directing specific frequencies. Imagine standing at its center during a ceremony, surrounded by chanting or drumming, the very stones humming in response, creating an otherworldly auditory experience. Was this a sacred soundscape, a way to commune with the divine through vibration? The solstice alignments only deepen the mystery. Every year, crowds gather to watch the sun rise perfectly between the heel stone and the slaughter stone on the summer solstice, flooding the circle with light. But this precision isn't just about marking the longest day. Some theorists argue the alignment served as a celestial calendar, tracking not just seasons but longer cycles, predicting eclipses or even agricultural patterns. The bluestones, hauled over 150 miles from Wales, add another layer. Their unique composition includes minerals that produce eerie sounds when struck, leading to speculation they were chosen not just for their durability but for their acoustic properties. Could Stonehenge have been a Neolithic broadcast system, transmitting messages or rituals across the landscape? Then there's the message board theory. Certain stones bear carvings of axes and daggers, symbols that might have served as warnings, territorial markers, or even spiritual sigils. But the most intriguing possibility: the arrangement of the bluestones mirrors the layout of nearby burial mounds, suggesting the entire site could be a map of the underworld, a physical representation of the journey between life and death. The acoustics might have played a role here. Two specific frequencies could have induced trance states, guiding participants through ceremonial transitions. Skeptics argue that sound was merely a side effect, not an intentional feature. Yet experiments show the stone's placement creates distinct acoustic zones, with some areas amplifying sound while others cancel it out. This level of control hints at design, not accident. Whether Stonehenge was a concert hall for the ancients, a celestial calculator, or a conduit for communication, one thing's clear: its secrets aren't just written in stone. They're etched into the very air around it, waiting for us to listen. Among Stonehenge's weathered stones, hidden in plain sight, lie carvings that could rewrite our understanding of Neolithic Britain. Those dagger-shaped engravings aren't random scratches, they're deliberate symbols, etched with precision into the monument's sarsen slabs. Archaeologists first documented these markings in the 1950s, but their meaning remained elusive. Now, new imaging technology reveals something startling. These daggers mirror the arrangement of stars in specific constellations, particularly the Pleiades cluster. Was Stonehenge's surface a celestial map tracing the heavens in stone? Take the so-called altar stone, where faint carvings of axe heads overlap with the dagger motifs. Axes held profound spiritual significance in Bronze Age Europe, often symbolizing authority or divine power. But here's the twist: when sunlight strikes these carvings at certain times of year, the shadows cast a line perfectly with nearby burial mounds. It's as if the stones were part of a larger ritual landscape, where carvings acted as both waypoints and warnings. Some researchers suggest these symbols marked sacred boundaries. Cross them, and you entered the realm of the ancestors. Then there's the mystery of the cup marks, small circular depressions found on several stones. Initially dismissed as erosion, laser scans show they're too uniform to be natural. Their arrangement mirrors lunar phases, with clusters of 19 or 28 marks, numbers matching the Metonic cycle, an ancient lunar solar calendar. Could Neolithic builders have tracked eclipses or agricultural cycles using these stone notches? The carving's placement adds weight to this theory. On the summer solstice, sunlight filters between the stones, illuminating specific cup marks like a prehistoric spotlight. But the most provocative discovery lies on stone 53, where a carving resembling a constellation, possibly Orion's belt, overlaps with a dagger. This pairing might depict a celestial event like a supernova or comet, visible to Bronze Age observers. Ancient cultures often recorded astronomical phenomena in stone, treating them as omens. If Stonehenge's carvings capture such moments, they could be the earliest known star charts in Europe. Critics argue these interpretations rely too heavily on pattern recognition, pointing out that erosion makes definitive dating difficult. Yet the precision of these marks is undeniable. Unlike graffiti, they're concentrated in ritually significant areas, often aligned with solstice sightlines. Whether they're star maps, ritual instructions, or messages to the gods, one thing's certain: Stonehenge's stones were never meant to be silent. They were a living canvas, whispering secrets to those who knew how to read them. At first glance, the Parthenon appears as a temple of perfect symmetry, but step closer. Its genius lies in its deliberate imperfections. Every column swells slightly outward, a subtle bulge called intosses that counters the optical illusion of concave-looking straight lines from a distance. The stylobate, the platform beneath those towering columns, curves upward at the center, defying the flatness we'd expect. Why would ancient architects go to such lengths? Because perfection, in their eyes, wasn't mathematical precision, it was how the human eye perceived it. These engineered flaws created the illusion of flawless harmony, tricking viewers into seeing a structure more balanced than reality could ever achieve. The friezes wrapping the Parthenon are no less cunning. Take the Panathenaic procession carving, where horsemen and chariots seem to move with lifelike energy. Look closely at their spacing. Figures at the corners are slightly compressed, while those near the center stretch out. This wasn't poor planning, it was a calculated adjustment to ensure the scene appeared evenly paced when viewed from below. Even more provocative are the metopes, the square panels above the columns. Their scenes of gods battling giants and lapiths fighting centaurs weren't just mythological decoration. They were political propaganda, echoing Athens' recent victory over Persia, casting the Persians as chaotic monsters subdued by Greek order. Then there's the secret ratio governing every dimension, the golden mean. From the spacing of the columns to the height of the pediments, this mathematical proportion, roughly 1 to 1.618, repeats like a hidden signature. The Greeks believed this ratio embodied divine harmony, and its presence here tied the Parthenon to cosmic laws. Modern scans reveal even the gaps between columns follow this rule, narrowing toward the corners to enhance the illusion of perspective. But the boldest message lies in what's missing. The east pediment once held a colossal statue of Athena Parthenos, her ivory and gold form gleaming in the temple's heart. Her shield bore a carved serpent said to represent the mythical king Erechtheus, symbolizing Athens' claim to autochthony, the idea its people sprang from the very soil they defended. The Parthenon's alignments hold celestial secrets too. On the summer solstice, sunlight strikes the northeast corner at dawn, illuminating the birth of Athena in the east pediment sculpture. This wasn't just artistic symbolism, it tied the goddess's myth to the agricultural calendar, reinforcing her role as the city's protector. Even the temple's orientation facing east mirrors older Mycenaean shrines, subtly asserting Athens' continuity with Greece's heroic past. For centuries, scholars assumed the Parthenon was a static monument, but laser scans now show its columns were designed to sway slightly in earthquakes, their bases shaped to rock without toppling. This wasn't just engineering, it was metaphor in stone. Like Athens itself, the temple could bend but never break. Every curve, every carving, every hidden ratio whispered the same message. Here stands a civilization that mastered not just art or war, but the very laws of perception. And that mastery was meant to endure long after the gold faded and the statues fell. The Parthenon's metopes weren't just decoration, they were a battlefield in stone. Carved into those 92 rectangular panels were epic clashes between gods and giants, Greeks and centaurs, each scene a testament to order triumphing over chaos. But look closer and you'll notice something unsettling. Nearly half of them are gone, not worn away by time, but deliberately chiseled off or shattered. Their absence isn't an accident, it's a political statement etched into the temple's bones. Take the south side metopes, where lapiths wrestled centaurs in a brutal allegory of civilization versus barbarism. These weren't just mythical brawls, they mirrored Athens' real-life struggle against Persia. When the Persians sacked the Acropolis in 480 BC, they left the old Parthenon in ruins. The new temple's metopes, carved decades later, served as revenge in marble, casting the Persians as the monstrous centaurs, drunk and violent, while the lapiths embodied Greek rationality. But here's the twist. By the 5th century CE, Christians had defaced many of these panels, seeing them as pagan idolatry. The message was clear: new powers rewrite history by erasing the old. The most provocative losses are the East metopes, depicting the Gigantomachy gods battling giants. These weren't just religious art, they were propaganda. Athena, Zeus, and Apollo defending Olympus mirrored Athens' self-image as defenders of Greek culture. But when Rome converted to Christianity, these panels became targets. Some were repurposed into church walls, others were smashed entirely. The irony is staggering. The very symbols meant to showcase Athenian invincibility were dismantled by the empires that followed. Yet the metope's destruction might hide a subtler story. A few surviving fragments show strange tool marks, not random vandalism, but precise cuts. Some scholars suggest these panels were removed for their valuable marble, recycled into later buildings. Others believe they were hidden during periods of iconoclasm, spirited away by those who refused to let their stories die. One fragment, discovered in the 1800s, had been built into a Turkish house, its divine combat scene hidden beneath plaster for centuries. The missing metopes leave behind ghostly shadows, their empty spaces shouting louder than the surviving carvings. What does it mean when a civilization's triumphs are literally scraped away? Perhaps the Parthenon's greatest lesson isn't in what remains, but in what was taken, and who got to decide. Every chisel mark tells a story of power, faith, and the brutal truth that history belongs to those who control the narrative. The Colosseum's weathered walls might seem silent now, but scratch beneath the surface literally, and you'll find them screaming with voices from the past. Hidden in the shadows of its arches and corridors, ancient graffiti covers the stone like a clandestine diary. These aren't random scribbles, they're snapshots of lives lived in the roar of the arena. One carving depicts a triumphant gladiator, his name Martialis etched beside a crude victory tally. Another shows a spectator's hastily scratched betting slip, odds and all frozen in time. These markings weren't vandalism, they were the crowd's way of saying, "I was here, I mattered," but the real secrets lie beneath the arena floor. The hypogeum, a labyrinth of tunnels and chambers, wasn't just backstage for the spectacle, it was a carefully choreographed machine of violence and control. Trapdoors hidden across the wooden floor could catapult animals into the fray, while elevators powered by counterweights hoisted entire set pieces into view. The tunnel's layout wasn't random. They were designed to disorient gladiators and prisoners marched in darkness, emerging abruptly into blinding sunlight and the deafening cheers of 80,000 spectators. This wasn't just logistics, it was psychological theater, ensuring the combatants were as off balance as the beasts they fought. The graffiti down here tells a darker story. Faint carvings of crosses and prayers line some walls, likely left by condemned prisoners. Elsewhere, numerical tallies suggest a gruesome record-keeping system, death counts perhaps, or betting odds for the next match. Even the mortar bears fingerprints, pressed into the wet plaster by workers who knew their labor would fuel Rome's bloodiest entertainment. Modern laser scans reveal something even more startling. Certain tunnels align with celestial events. On the summer solstice, sunlight pierces a narrow shaft in the hypogeum, illuminating a now faded carving of Nemesis, goddess of retribution. Was this intentional? A way to remind those below that even in darkness, divine judgment watched, or just a coincidence leveraged by pragmatic priests? The Colosseum's greatest hidden message isn't in its stones or its graffiti, it's in the very design. The hypogeum's maze-like structure mirrored Rome's social order, those above bathed in light and spectacle, those below trapped in the machinery of their entertainment. Every bloodstain, every cheer, every hastily carved prayer was part of the performance. And like all the best spectacles, the real show wasn't what happened in the arena, it was what the audience never saw. Step into the Colosseum stands, and you weren't just choosing a seat, you were taking your place in Rome's rigid social order. The arena's 76 numbered entrances and tiered seating weren't just about crowd control, they were a physical map of imperial power. Senators reclined closest to the action on marble benches, while slaves and women perched in the stifling upper rows, but the hierarchy wasn't just vertical. Each level was subdivided further: foreign dignitaries seated by conquest status, soldiers grouped by rank, even freedmen separated from aristocrats by mere inches of stone. These divisions pulsed through every spectacle, reinforcing who mattered and who didn't with theatrical precision. The exits told the same story in reverse. The vomitoria passages designed to disgorge crowds weren't just efficient, they were segregated. Elite patrons exited through vaulted corridors adorned with frescoes, while the masses funneled into narrow stairwells. This wasn't accidental. By controlling movement, the empire turned dispersal into performance, a final reminder that status dictated every aspect of life, even how you left the games. Architectural graffiti reveals an even subtler code. Carved into seating blocks are cryptic numerals, not random tallies, but section markers correlating to tax records. Some scholars argue these numbers tied spectators to their financial contributions, turning the Colosseum into a giant ledger. Imagine watching lions devour prisoners while your seat literally displayed your fiscal loyalty to Rome. The message was unmistakable. Citizenship wasn't just a right, it was a transaction. The arena floor itself hid a numeric riddle. Recent laser scans show the hypogeum's pulley systems operated on a precise ratio. One slave turning a capstan could lift 300 pounds via counterweights. These hidden mechanics mirrored imperial propaganda. Beneath the chaos of the games lay an empire that calculated everything from labor to lives. Even the sand covering the floor was measured, exactly 6 inches deep to absorb blood without becoming slippery. This obsession with numbers peaked in the Colosseum's name. Though we call it the Flavian Amphitheater, medieval Romans knew it as the Colosseum, not for its size, but for the colossal statue of Nero that once stood nearby. The emperor's face was recarved into the sun god Sol, a numeric sleight of hand. By erasing Nero's identity but keeping his scale, the Flavians symbolically transferred his grandeur to their dynasty without the baggage. What makes these codes so chilling is their invisibility to the average spectator. You didn't need to notice the seat numbers or understand the pulley ratios to feel their effect. Like the grooves guiding chariots in the Circus Maximus, these hidden systems steered behavior through design. The Colosseum wasn't just a venue for violence, it was a clockwork engine of social control, ticking silently beneath the roar of the crowd. Angkor Wat's towering spires stretch toward the heavens, but its most startling secrets are carved at eye level, where ancient stone meets prehistoric mystery. Among the temple's intricate bas-reliefs, beside scenes of Hindu epics and celestial dancers, lurks a figure that shouldn't exist. A creature with a long, sinuous tail, sturdy legs, and a head crest unmistakably resembling a stegosaurus. Mainstream archaeology dismisses it as a stylized boar or rhino, but the resemblance is uncanny. Could this be evidence that Khmer artisans glimpsed creatures science wouldn't rediscover for centuries? Or does the carving point to something deeper, a lost thread of knowledge woven through time? The dinosaur isn't alone. Other reliefs depict serpentine beings entwined with humans, their anatomical precision at odds with mythical embellishment. Some researchers propose these reflect now extinct species observed by the Khmers, while others see symbolic representations of Nagas, sacred serpents guarding cosmic knowledge. But the most provocative theory comes from the temple's celestial alignment. Angkor Wat's central tower points precisely toward the constellation Draco the Dragon during the spring equinox. This isn't just symbolic, it's mathematical. The temple's layout mirrors the stars of Draco's tail, with its causeways and moats forming a terrestrial echo of the night sky. Why would a 12th century temple encode such precise astronomy? The answer might lie in the Khmer's obsession with time. Angkor Wat's outer gallery features a bas-relief known as the churning of the ocean of milk, depicting gods and demons tugging a giant serpent to create the elixir of immortality. Hidden within this scene are subtle markers: 92 Asura's demons and 88 Devas gods, numbers matching the years it takes Uranus and Mercury to complete their orbits. This isn't coincidence, it's a celestial clock carved in stone, tracking planetary cycles with startling accuracy. Modern LiDAR scans reveal even more startling connections. The entire Angkor complex aligns with cardinal directions, shifted 3.65 degrees west, a deliberate tilt matching the slight axial wobble of Earth during the temple's construction. This wrong orientation wasn't a mistake. It captured a snapshot of the heavens as they appeared in the year 1150. The Khmers didn't just build a temple, they froze the sky in sandstone, creating a monument where architecture and astronomy became one. Then there's the mystery of the library buildings, structures once thought to hold sacred texts. Their windows align solstice sunrises, casting beams that illuminate specific carvings for mere minutes each year. One such beam highlights the dinosaur-like creature, as if the ancients were spotlighting a puzzle for future generations. Whether the carving is myth, memory, or something in between, Angkor Wat's true power lies in its layers. Every stone whispers two stories, one of gods and kings, the other of a civilization that mapped the cosmos with chisel and mortar and dared to carve the impossible. Deep within Angkor Wat's labyrinthine corridors, tucked between the grand narratives of gods and kings, lie faint scratches that most visitors rush past, Khmer inscriptions carved hastily, almost secretively, into the temple's lower walls. Unlike the official proclamations adorning the grand galleries, these markings are intimate, personal, often just a few words or numbers etched by someone who wanted to leave their mark without drawing attention. Recent high-resolution scans have uncovered hundreds of these hidden texts, and what they reveal is astonishing. Shopping lists, debt records, even complaints about the weather. But among these everyday musings, archaeologists have found something far more significant: detailed accounts of forgotten rituals, performed in the temple's shadows long after its builders were gone. Take inscription K492, discovered near the western entrance. At first glance, it's just a list of names and dates, but when researchers cross-referenced it with lunar cycles, a pattern emerged. The dates align with a once-yearly ceremony not recorded in any official chronicle, a nighttime offering to the Niktar, land spirits believed to guard the temple's foundations. The inscription specifies exact quantities of rice, wine, and betel nut, along with a curious instruction: do not look back after placing the offering. This wasn't just superstition, it was a survival tactic. By the 14th century, Angkor was in decline, and the Khmers likely saw these rituals as a way to appease forces they no longer controlled. Then there's the Stok inscription, hidden beneath layers of lichen on a secondary wall. Unlike the temple's formal Sanskrit texts, this is written in Old Khmer, the language of everyday people. It describes a rebellion in 1175 when a faction of priests attempted to overthrow the god King Suryavarman II. The coup failed, but the inscription hints at why. The rebels ignored an omen, a solar eclipse that darkened the temple mid-ceremony, interpreted as the gods withdrawing their favor. What makes this record so extraordinary is its rawness. Official histories would have erased such a challenge to royal authority, but here it is, preserved by a scribe who risked his life to write it. The most haunting finds are the counting stones, small, unassuming blocks where workers tallied the days until completion. One reads 327 monsoons next to a crude sketch of a weary face. Another simply states, the king's road is finished, but our backs are broken. These aren't the words of conquering heroes or divine monarchs. They're the whispers of laborers who built a masterpiece but knew they'd never see their names carved beside the gods. Modern technology has peeled back even deeper layers. Multispectral imaging has revealed ghostly ink markings beneath the carving's. Temple accountants recording everything from the wages paid to dancers to the exact number of nails used in construction. One ledger lists 12,485 brass nails for the Northern Library, a detail so precise it suggests Angkor Wat wasn't just a spiritual center, but a sprawling administrative machine. But the greatest revelation came in 2019, when a team using ground-penetrating radar found a previously unknown chamber behind the central shrine. Inside, a single sandstone slab bore an inscription that changed everything. This temple is a map of the world as it was and as it will be. Around the edges, star charts match the night sky not in the 12th century, but in 2550, a date with no known astronomical significance to the Khmers. Was this prophecy a mathematical accident or proof that Angkor's architects saw further than we ever imagined? These inscriptions don't just add footnotes to history, they rewrite it. For centuries, we saw Angkor Wat as a frozen monument to imperial glory. But these hidden voices tell a different story of doubt, adaptation, and quiet resistance. The temple stones don't just hold the words of kings, they hold the hopes, fears, and secrets of everyone who touched them. And if we listen closely, they're still speaking. Easter Island's moai stand with their backs to the sea, silent giants guarding a mystery as deep as the Pacific itself. But turn them around and you'll find something even more enigmatic. The faint, intricate grooves of Rongorongo script carved into their stone shoulders. This isn't just decoration, it's one of the world's last untranslated writing systems, a language of symbols that's resisted decipherment for centuries. Some glyphs resemble plants and animals long extinct on the island, while others look eerily like celestial patterns. But the most haunting part, the script appears backwards on many statues, as if meant to be read not by the living, but by the moai themselves, or the ancestors they were meant to embody. Theories about Rongorongo's purpose range from sacred hymns to genealogical records, but one clue stands out. The script's sudden appearance in the island's history coincides with its ecological collapse. As forests vanished and soil eroded, the Rapa Nui people may have turned to these carvings as desperate warnings, etched in stone because paper mulberry bark, their traditional writing material, had disappeared. The glyphs' repetitive sequences suggest calendrical or ritual content, possibly tracking resource scarcity. One tantalizing fragment depicts a frigatebird, a species that vanished from the island after overhunting, next to a series of slashes, like a tally counting down to disaster. Then there's the moai's hidden engineering. Recent ground-penetrating radar revealed that many statues extend far underground, their buried torsos covered in petroglyphs unseen for generations. These carvings show scenes of conflict and famine, a stark contrast to the serene faces above. Were the moai meant to be fully unearthed during crises, revealing their darker messages only in times of need? Their placement adds another layer. While most face inland to watch over villages, a cluster near Rongorongo volcano turns outward, their bases marked with Rongorongo symbols for listen and remember. The most provocative theory comes from oral traditions, which speak of the moai walking to their posts with divine help. Experiments show the statues could have been moved vertically with ropes, rocking them forward, a method requiring vast manpower and timber. But the Rapa Nui's descendants insist the moai moved on their own until the chants were forgotten. What if Rongorongo wasn't just a language but a set of instructions? A ritual code that, when recited correctly, allowed the ancestors to guide their stone avatars. The last known Rongorongo expert died in slavery in 19th century Peru, taking the key to this puzzle with him. Today, only 26 Rongorongo artifacts survive, their glyphs worn by time and theft, but the moai's silent warnings endure. The island's ecological catastrophe, triggered by deforestation to move statues, mirrors our own climate crisis. Those backward-facing glyphs seem to ask, will we read the signs before it's too late, or will we, like the Rapa Nui, carve our regrets in stone? For decades, the moai were thought to be just towering heads until archaeologists began digging. What they uncovered rewrote Easter Island's story entirely. Beneath the surface, these iconic figures have full bodies, intricately carved with petroglyphs and symbols that stretch down as far as 13 feet into the earth. But why bury them so deep? The answer might lie in the Rapa Nui's belief that the statues weren't just representations of ancestors, they were the ancestors, their physical forms rooted in the underworld while their watchful faces remained above to guide the living. The carvings hidden below ground tell a darker tale than the serene expressions above. Spirals resembling ocean waves mingle with fishhooks and spear points, symbols tied to the island's fragile ecosystem. One recurring motif shows a broken canoe next to a palm tree, a stark reference to the deforestation that doomed the Rapa Nui's seafaring traditions. Even more haunting are the carvings of clenched fists and contorted figures, possibly depicting the clan wars that erupted as resources vanished. These weren't just decorations, they were a buried ledger of the island's ecological and social collapse. Recent 3D scanning revealed something even more startling. The statue's torsos bear pecked holes aligned with solstice sunrises. During the winter solstice, sunlight filters through these perforations, casting patterns that match petroglyphs at Orongo, the island's ceremonial village. This wasn't accidental. The Rapa Nui likely designed the moai as solar markers, their buried halves acting as conduits between the celestial and subterranean worlds. Some researchers suggest the holes served as anchor points for ropes during the statue's transportation, but indigenous oral histories describe them as eyes for the dead, allowing ancestors to witness rituals performed above. The most provocative discovery came in 2012, when excavations at Rono Raraku, the quarry where most moai were carved, exposed statues with knees. These figures appear mid-stride, as if frozen in the act of walking, an eerie echo of legends claiming the moai moved with mana or spiritual energy. Laser scans show their bases are polished smooth, not rough-hewn like the buried portions, hinting they might have been slid or rocked into place. Yet the question remains, why carve legs that would never be seen? Unless, of course, the Rapa Nui believed the statue's power extended beyond the visible. Perhaps the greatest clue lies in the moai's positioning. Those with the most elaborate subterranean carvings cluster near freshwater sources, their buried bodies marking underground streams. To the Rapa Nui, water was sacred, a gift from the ancestors. By embedding the statues like living wells, they may have been creating spiritual guardians for the island's most precious resource. Today, as rising seas threaten to swallow Easter Island's coastline, these hidden messages feel eerily prescient. The moai's buried bodies aren't just relics of the past. They're a warning written in stone about what happens when a civilization forgets to protect what lies beneath. The Taj Mahal's ivory white domes gleam under the Indian sun, but look closer. Etched into its marble walls in flowing Persian calligraphy are verses that whisper secrets only a handful can read. These aren't mere decorations, they're Quranic inscriptions so precise, their size increases with height to correct optical distortion when viewed from below. The artisans didn't just carve words, they engineered illusion, ensuring every line appeared flawless to the human eye. But nestled among these sacred texts lies something even more extraordinary, a hidden poem. In the arch of the main gateway, 22 tiny couplets by Persian poet Amanat Khan reveal the Taj's true purpose, not just as a tomb, but as a mirror of paradise. One line reads, "The pure soul will escape from the net of the stars," a Sufi metaphor for divine union, hinting that Shah Jahan built the mausoleum as much for spiritual ascent as for love. Beneath the main chamber, rumors swirl of a second, shadowy replica, a black Taj Mahal meant for the emperor himself. Historical accounts describe Shah Jahan planning an identical structure across the Yamuna River, this time in black marble connected by a silver bridge. Though no evidence of its construction exists, moonlight reveals a ghostly outline. The riverbank's foundation stones align perfectly with the Taj's footprint, as if waiting for a twin. Was this abandoned plan a tribute to cosmic duality, the white Taj symbolizing day and the black Taj night? Or did the emperor's overthrow by his son Aurangzeb freeze his vision in time? Archaeologists using ground-penetrating radar have detected anomalies beneath the riverbank, rectangular cavities matching the Taj's basement dimensions, but the truth remains buried. Every inch of the Taj obeys sacred geometry, yet its most stunning symmetry is one most visitors miss. The entire complex aligns so precisely that during the autumn equinox, the setting sun's rays pass through its 4 minarets simultaneously, framing the mausoleum in a golden rectangle. This isn't just aesthetic perfection, it's a mathematical ode to Sufi cosmology, where geometric harmony reflects divine order. Even the reflecting pool holds a coded message. Its length measures exactly 1,000 Mughal yards, a number representing eternity in Islamic mysticism. Shah Jahan's architects didn't just build a monument, they composed a love letter in stone, light and shadow, where every angle whispers a Sufi teaching about the unity of creation. But the Taj's greatest secret might lie in what isn't there. Notice how the four minarets tilt slightly outward. This wasn't architectural error. It was a safeguard designed so that in an earthquake they'd fall away from the central dome. More striking still is the cenotaph chamber's acoustic anomaly. Stand beneath the dome and clap once. The sound echoes exactly 12 times, mirroring the 12 levels of heaven in Islamic tradition. Yet Mumtaz Mahal's actual tomb rests directly below, in a silent, unadorned crypt, a reminder that earthly beauty is fleeting, but true devotion echoes forever. The Taj Mahal is more than marble and gemstones. It's a palimpsest of poetry, physics, and prayer, where every curve conceals a lesson. From its calligraphy that changes with perspective to its phantom black twin, this monument refuses to be just one thing. It is both tomb and temple, a love story and a cosmic diagram, and perhaps like the Sufi mystics who inspired it, its deepest message is this: truth reveals itself only to those who know how to look beyond the surface. The Taj Mahal's gardens stretch in perfect symmetry, but look beyond their beauty. They're a celestial map in living form. The four-part charbagh layout isn't just ornamental. It mirrors the Islamic vision of paradise described in the Quran, where 4 rivers of milk, honey, water, and wine flow beneath eternal gardens. Each quadrant aligns with a cardinal direction, while the marble pathways intersect at right angles, forming a cosmic crossroad between earth and heaven. The water channels slicing through them aren't mere decoration. They're reflections of Al-Kauthar, the celestial river promised to the faithful. Stand at the mausoleum's entrance at dawn during the spring equinox, and you'll witness the sun rise directly over the central fountain, its light fracturing into a golden path along the water, as if the boundary between the earthly and divine has briefly dissolved. This alignment isn't accidental. Mughal astronomers positioned the entire complex so its north-south axis points toward Mecca's Qibla, while the east-west orientation traces the sun's journey across the heavens. The garden's cypress trees, symbols of immortality in Sufi tradition, were planted in precise ratios, their shadows at noon forming geometric patterns that replicate star constellations visible from Agra in the 17th century. Even the lotus-shaped fountains encode astronomical knowledge. Their 8 petals correspond to the 8 gates of paradise in Islamic eschatology, while the water's flow rate was calibrated so its sound would sync with the call to prayer from the nearby mosque. Then there's the Yamuna River's hidden role. Most visitors see it as a scenic backdrop, but Mughal engineers manipulated its course to curve around the Taj's northern edge intentionally. This created a reflective surface so still that on moonless nights, the mausoleum appears to float upside down in the water, a deliberate illusion evoking the barzakh, the Sufi concept of the liminal space between death and resurrection. Contemporary accounts describe Shah Jahan's court poets marveling at how the inverted Taj seemed to drink the stars, its mirrored dome capturing constellations unseen from the ground. The most startling revelation lies beneath the gardens. Recent soil resistivity scans revealed a network of subterranean aqueducts branching like veins beneath the charbagh. These channels don't just irrigate, they're arranged in fractal patterns matching the Khatam Suleiman, Solomon's seal, a sacred Islamic motif representing infinite wisdom. During the summer solstice, water pressure in these tunnels surges, causing the fountains to erupt higher than any pump technology of the era should allow. Modern hydrologists suspect the system harnessed natural artesian wells, but Mughal texts credit it to Al-Jabr, the force of equilibrium linking earthly waters to celestial ones. Yet the Taj's ultimate astronomical secret is one of absence. Unlike Hindu or European monuments, no zodiac carvings adorn its walls. Instead, the night sky is represented negatively by the pierced marble screens Jolly surrounding Mumtaz's cenotaph. Their intricate star-shaped perforations cast ever-shifting shadows that, during the winter solstice, project the exact constellation pattern visible from Mecca on the night of her death. It's as if Shah Jahan didn't just build a tomb, but a celestial clockwork, ensuring his queen's soul would forever navigate by the stars. From its gardens mapping paradise to its waters mirroring the cosmos, the Taj Mahal whispers a truth beyond its marble facade. This isn't architecture. It's astronomy in stone, a monument where every petal, every ripple, every shadow was calibrated to sing in harmony with the universe. And if you stand very still at sunset, when the last light gilds the calligraphy above the arches, you might just hear it, the faint, eternal hum of the spheres. Chichen Itza's El Castillo isn't just a pyramid, it's a meticulously engineered clock dressed as a temple. Every equinox, as the sun sets, the stepped terraces cast jagged triangles of shadow onto the northern staircase, forming the illusion of a slithering serpent descending from the sky. This Kukulkan, the feathered serpent deity, appears to animate in stone, its diamond-shaped head meeting a carved serpent's mouth at the base. But this isn't just artistic theater, it's celestial mathematics in action. The pyramid's 9 terraces divide into 18 segments mirroring the Mayan solar calendar's months, while its 4 staircases total 365 steps, one for each day of the year. The precision is staggering. The serpent's body aligns perfectly only at this exact moment, proving the Maya didn't just observe the heavens, they wrote with them. Yet the real magic isn't just in what you see, but what you hear. Clap your hands at the base of El Castillo, and the echo doesn't merely bounce back, it transforms. The sound waves ricochet off the limestone steps in a way that mimics the chirp of the sacred Quetzal bird, Kukulkan's avian counterpart. Researchers analyzing the acoustics found the pyramid's geometry filters and distorts sound frequencies with intentional precision. Some believe priests used this effect during ceremonies, their chants morphing into bird calls as they ascended, creating the illusion of divine communication. Even whispers at one corner of the pyramid's base can be heard clearly at the opposite corner, 90 feet away, a feature that may have allowed hidden messages to travel undetected during rituals. Beneath El Castillo's towering steps lies an even darker secret, a hidden cenote or sinkhole flooded with groundwater. While most visitors focus on the pyramid's heights, archaeologists using electrical resistivity imaging discovered this water-filled chamber directly beneath the structure. For the Maya, cenotes weren't just water sources, they were portals to Xibalba, the underworld. Artifacts dredged from similar cenotes include gold ornaments, jade masks, and human bones, suggesting sacrificial offerings to Chak, the rain god. The positioning of El Castillo over this submerged cavern turns the entire pyramid into a cosmic axis. The serpent's shadow connecting heaven, the cenote anchoring the underworld, and the temple itself bridging both realms. But the most startling revelation came in 2015 when scans revealed a second pyramid inside El Castillo, a smaller, older structure concealed like a nesting doll. Its walls bear murals of warriors and deities untouched for centuries, possibly preserving rituals lost when the outer pyramid was built. One depicts a figure standing in a cenote, arms raised as if channeling water upward. This could explain why the Maya built over it, not to erase but to amplify. By layering temple upon temple, they may have been charging the site with spiritual energy, turning El Castillo into a battery of belief. From its shadow serpent chronometer to its echoing avian whispers, Chichen Itza's masterpiece doesn't just mark time, it converses with it. Every stone seems engineered to translate between worlds, sunlight into myth, sound into divinity, architecture into prayer. And deep below, in the silent cenote's dark waters, the Maya's greatest messages may still be waiting, undisturbed, for the right moment to surface. El Castillo's hidden interior isn't just an archaeological curiosity, it's a palimpsest of power, each layer telling a different chapter of Mayan cosmic reckoning. The outermost pyramid we see today was built around the 9th century, but nested within it lies a smaller, older temple dated to the 6th century, and beneath that, scans suggest yet another structure, possibly reaching back to the preclassic era. This isn't mere architectural evolution, it's like peeling back the pages of a celestial almanac. The innermost pyramid aligns with stars no longer visible from Chichen Itza due to Earth's axial precession, suggesting its builders tracked heavens that later generations couldn't even see. The middle temple holds the most tantalizing clues. Murals uncovered in its sealed chambers depict rulers wearing headdresses adorned with Venus glyphs, a planet central to Mayan cosmology. One figure holds a rope studded with jade orbs, likely representing the planet's 8-year cycle. But here's what's chilling. The murals show this ruler standing atop a pyramid that looks suspiciously like the original innermost structure. It's as if each successive layer wasn't just built over the old, but responded to it, updating celestial software while preserving the sacred hardware. Then there's the orientation shift. The earliest pyramid points 23 degrees northeast, aligning with the rising of Aldebaran, a star associated with rain. The middle temple corrects this to 17 degrees, tracking the more prominent Pleiades cluster. The final outer pyramid perfects the alignment at 19.5 degrees, matching the moon's extreme northern position in its 18.6-year cycle. This isn't random adjustment, it's celestial debugging, proof the Maya were continuously refining their astronomical models across generations. The staircases tell another story. The inner pyramid has narrow, steep steps suited for solitary priests. The middle structure's wider stairs suggest elite participation. By the final phase, the staircases are grand thoroughfares accommodating masses, a shift from esoteric ritual to public spectacle. Yet all versions share one eerie feature. Their risers are precisely angled to cast shadows that, during solstices, form perfect isosceles triangles. Whether built for priests or crowds, the pyramids always whispered the same geometric truths. Most startling is what lies between the layers. Archaeologists found offerings deliberately placed in the mortar jade beads in the shape of the number 13, sacred to the moon, obsidian blades arranged in Orion's belt patterns, and stingray spines used in royal bloodletting pointing magnetic north. These weren't construction accidents, they were ritual batteries, charging each new layer with the spiritual energy of the old. The Maya didn't bury their past, they entombed it, turning El Castillo into a kind of architectural Russian doll where every shell vibrated with accumulated knowledge. What does this say about Mayan rule? The layers may correlate with dynastic shifts. The earliest pyramids' murals show bearded figures, possibly representing Teotihuacan influence. The middle layer introduces the feathered serpent motif tied to the rise of the Kukulkan cult. The final phase boasts Toltec-style warriors, suggesting foreign conquest. Yet through all these upheavals, the pyramids kept speaking the universal language of stars and sacrifice. The true power of El Castillo isn't in any one era's vision, but in how centuries of rulers literally built upon their predecessors' cosmic blueprints, knowing some messages are too vital to erase, only amplify. The Great Wall of China stretches like a dragon's spine across mountains and deserts, but its weathered bricks hold secrets far darker than the battles it witnessed. Walk along remote, unrestored sections, and you'll find stones etched with strange symbols, not imperial insignias, but the desperate carvings of the laborers who built them. These markings range from simple tally counts to full names, some accompanied by curses so vivid they've survived centuries of wind and rain. One brick near Jinshanling bears the chilling inscription, "Whoever disturbs this stone will perish as I have, with no descendants to mourn them." Archaeologists believe these were left by conscripted workers, many of whom perished during construction, their final defiance pressed into the mortar. But the most haunting legend isn't carved in stone. It's woven into the wall's very foundations. The tale of Mengjongnu tells of a young woman whose husband died building the wall, his body buried somewhere within its ramparts. Her grief was so immense that her tears caused a section to collapse, revealing his bones beneath. While the story is folklore, it may hold a kernel of truth. In 2002, heavy rains near Shanhaiguan exposed a previously hidden segment filled with skeletal remains, many showing signs of trauma consistent with crushing injuries. Local historians now believe this could be a mass grave for workers who died during construction, their burial site concealed to avoid bad omens. The exposed stretch has become a pilgrimage site where visitors leave ribbons and coins not just for Mengjongnu's mythical husband, but for the unnamed thousands who vanished into the wall's shadow. The bricks themselves whisper other truths. Infrared imaging has detected variations in clay composition, revealing which sections were built by conscripts versus professional masons. Some stones near Badaling contain straw and rice husks, materials peasants added to strengthen mortar when imperial supplies ran short. Others bear faint handprints, likely pressed into wet clay as silent signatures. But the most provocative finds are the ghost bricks, stones fired at lower temperatures that appear intact but crumble at a touch. Folklore claims these were sabotaged by laborers forced to work under brutal conditions, their fragile bricks ensuring the wall would one day fail. Modern engineers confirm these weaker stones cluster in sections prone to collapse, as if the past left a deliberate weakness for time to exploit. From curses etched in desperation to bones hidden beneath centuries of dust, the Great Wall's true message isn't about imperial might, it's about the cost. Every crumbling brick, every faded handprint, every folk song about a weeping woman reminds us that history's grandest monuments are built on more than stone. They're built on lives, and those lives sometimes carve their stories where only the careful will see. From the tragedy of its construction to its brilliance as a military marvel, the Great Wall's beacon towers were more than just watchposts. They were an ancient internet, transmitting vital intelligence faster than any horseman could ride. These towering structures, spaced at precise intervals, didn't just light fires, they spoke in smoke. By day, columns of thick, dark smoke rose in carefully counted pulses. By night, the glow of flames flickered in coded sequences. A single tower might send up one plume for a small raiding party, 3 for an advancing battalion. But the real genius lay in how these signals cascaded across the wall's spine. If a tower near Dunhuang spotted invaders, its smoke would trigger a synchronized relay, with each subsequent tower amplifying the message, a ripple of warning racing hundreds of miles in minutes. The system's sophistication went beyond simple numbers. Directional signals were embedded in the smoke itself. Towers would angle their fires or adjust the stacking of fuel to create distinct plume shapes. A vertical spiral might indicate cavalry approaching from the north, while a staggered, zigzagging pattern warned of infantry flanking from the valleys. Archaeologists studying garrison records from the Ming Dynasty found references to fire scripts, manuals that assigned specific smoke combinations to regional threats. A fragment recovered near Jiayuguan reveals how 5 rapid bursts followed by 2 long meant Mongol scouts testing defenses at the 7th Watchtower West. This wasn't just communication, it was encryption designed to baffle enemies while guiding defenders. But the tower's most startling feature wasn't the smoke, it was the silence. Sections of the wall in the arid northwest used a different system, Pao Dun or cannon mounds. Here, guards would ignite pre-positioned gunpowder charges in hollowed-out platforms, creating thunderous reports that carried farther than smoke in the thin desert air. The number and rhythm of these explosions conveyed precise details. 2 quick bursts followed by a delayed third signaled siege engines approaching, while a single earth-shaking detonation meant wall breached. This acoustic code exploited the landscape's natural amphitheaters, bouncing warnings off canyon walls to outposts miles beyond line of sight. modern experiments have uncovered another layer of ingenuity. The beacon tower's placements align with natural wind patterns. In the Hexi corridor, where westerly winds dominate, towers cluster on eastern slopes, ensuring smoke would billow inland toward command centers rather than dissipating over enemy territory. Some towers even feature dual hearths, one for clean burning pine that produced bright flames at night, another for dampened straw that generated thick, lingering smoke by day. This environmental adaptation turned weather itself into an ally, a reminder that the wall wasn't just built on the land, it spoke through it. Yet perhaps the most poignant messages weren't military at all. Diaries from border troops describe using smoke signals for mundane but human purposes, celebrating the Lunar New Year with synchronized flare-ups, or mourning fallen officers with slow, grieving spirals that rippled along the frontier like a sigh. In those moments, the wall's language transcended war, becoming a shared breath across the miles, a reminder that even stone can carry whispers of the people who guarded it. Petra's Alcosne, carved into rose-red cliffs, isn't just a tomb, it's a masterpiece of hydraulic engineering disguised as a temple. The Nabateans didn't just carve this city from rock, they made it sing. Hidden behind the towering columns of the treasury, a network of narrow channels twists through the stone-like veins, designed to capture even the faintest desert rains. But these weren't mere gutters. When wind rushes through them, the channels transform into eerie flutes, producing low, harmonic tones that resonate through the canyon. Archaeologists call this the singing rocks phenomenon, and the Nabateans likely used it during rituals, turning the entire facade into an instrument for summoning gods or disorienting enemies. The most tantalizing mystery, though, looms at the very top of Alcosne, the stone urn balanced precariously above its entrance. Local Bedouin legends claim it holds the pharaoh's treasure, a rumor so persistent that early explorers fired rifles at it, hoping to shatter the urn and spill its riches. The bullet marks remain, but the urn never budged. Modern scans reveal why: it's solid stone, part of the mountain itself. But here's the twist: ground-penetrating radar detected a hollow chamber behind the urn, inaccessible without dismantling the facade. 19th century traveler accounts mention Nabatean priests hiding scrolls in the high place of wisdom, and this could be the vault they described. Then there's the water's secret language. The Nabateans engineered Petra's canals to do more than hydrate. Certain slopes and curves in the channels create distinct water sounds. A rush here, a trickle there, that functioned as an auditory map. Guides leading caravans could read the echoes to locate hidden reservoirs or avoid flash flood paths. One channel near the treasury forks abruptly, producing a sound like clashing cymbals when full, a warning system for sudden downpours. Even the placement of Alcosne's columns plays into this. Their spacing amplifies specific frequencies, meaning the entire structure may have been tuned like a colossal sound filter. The real revelation came in 2018, when drought exposed previously submerged channels. These lower tunnels bear carved symbols resembling musical notation dots and dashes that, when mapped to water flow rates, correspond to harmonic scales. Researchers theorize the Nabateans composed water music by diverting streams through specific sequences, turning the city's plumbing into a hydraulic organ. A surviving fragment of the Byzantine historian Procopius supports this, describing Petra's priests calling forth voices from the rock itself. From its echoing water symphonies to its sealed urn chamber, Alcosne refuses to be just a static monument. It's a dialogue between stone and sky, engineered to outlast its builders. Every ripple in its channels, every shadow on its facade seems to whisper the same truth. The Nabateans didn't build for the present. They built for the moment someone, centuries later, would finally pause and listen. Petra's Ad-Der Monastery, carved high into a mountain face, isn't just a breathtaking feat of architecture, it's a celestial clock. At dawn during the winter solstice, sunlight pierces the monument's central doorway with laser-like precision. striking a niche in the inner chamber where a statue of the Nabatean god Dashara once stood. This alignment isn't accidental. The entire facade angles 3 degrees off true east, a deliberate tilt that accounts for Earth's axial shift over 2 millennia. The effect is staggering. For exactly 7 minutes, the sun's rays ignite the alcove in fiery light, as if summoning the deity to bless the new solar cycle. But here's what's even more remarkable. The same phenomenon repeats in reverse during the summer solstice sunset, when light floods through a narrow fissure in the rear wall, projecting a dagger-shaped beam onto the entrance. This dual alignment hints at a sophistication beyond simple solar worship. The Nabateans weren't just tracking seasons, they were mapping time itself. The monastery's pillars are spaced at intervals matching the lunar standstill cycle, the 18.6-year period when the moon reaches its extreme positions in the sky. One pillar bears faint carvings of crescent moons in graduated sizes, likely used to predict eclipses. Even the steps leading to the temple tell a story. Their count corresponds to the days between solstices, turning the ascent into a physical calendar. But the real stunner lies in Petra's lesser-known tombs. The obelisk tomb, often overshadowed by its grand neighbors, aligns with the rising of Sirius just before the Nile's annual flood, an event the Nabateans monitored for trade with Egypt. The Corinthian tomb's pediment frames the Pleiades at their zenith, a cluster associated with fertility rites, and the Silk tomb, famous for its swirling rock patterns, has a hidden interior shelf that catches the equinox sunrise, illuminating a now-faded zodiac mural. The most provocative clue comes from the high place of sacrifice. At noon during the spring equinox, shadows from its twin obelisks intersect to form a perfect Nabatean god stone symbol, a shape also found in their water channel networks. This wasn't just ceremony, it was engineering. The same priests who read the stars likely used these alignments to time Petra's legendary water redistribution, turning astrological events into civic planning. Critics argue these alignments could be coincidental given natural rock formations, but laser scans reveal tool marks showing deliberate adjustments, microfractures where artisans chiseled millimeters off door frames or pillars to refine angles. The tombs aren't just facing the sun, they're conversing with it, their geometry encoding a language of seasons, stars, and survival. From solstice spectacles to shadow rituals, Petra's greatest treasures aren't the facades we see, but the invisible clockwork behind them, ticking silently across centuries. The Nabateans didn't just carve tombs, they carved time. The Leaning Tower of Pisa's famous tilt wasn't a mistake, it was a medieval middle finger to nature itself. When construction began in 1173, the soft clay beneath its foundations started sinking before the builders even reached the 3rd level. But instead of demolishing it, the architects doubled down, adjusting each successive floor to compensate for the lean. The result, a tower that defiantly curves upward like a stretched bow, its very imperfection becoming its trademark. This wasn't just stubbornness, it was a statement. In a world where cathedrals clawed at the heavens to prove devotion, Pisa's tower whispered a different truth. Humanity's grandest ambitions will always wrestle with the earth beneath them. Hidden within its walls lies an even bolder message. During 19th century restorations, workers discovered something bizarre, a hollow chamber in the tower's north side, sealed with medieval mortar. Inside rested a time capsule centuries ahead of its time, a lead box containing 11 gold coins minted during the tower's construction, a fragment of parchment listing the original builders' names, including a woman, Berta di Bernardo, rare for the era, and most puzzling of all, a glass vial filled with sand from the river Arno. Modern analysis revealed this wasn't just any sand. It contained microscopic shells and minerals matching the unstable subsoil that caused the tilt. This wasn't a random collection. It was a forensic snapshot, deliberately preserved as if to say, we knew the ground would betray us and we built anyway. The tower's lean encodes another secret. It's a sundial. At noon during the summer solstice, the shadow cast by its tilt traces a perfect arc across Pia's Day Miracoli, aligning with marble markers set into the square centuries ago. These markers don't just tell time, they form a calendar tracking crop cycles and religious festivals. The medieval architects likely planned this, as parchments from Pisa's archives reveal builders using the tower's shadow to schedule harbor dredging and market days. Even the tower's 7 bells, each tuned to a note of the major scale, were designed to chime in sequences that matched the shadow's position, turning time into a symphony. Then there's the marble. Most visitors assume the tower's exterior is uniform, but restorers found coded messages in its stonework. Certain panels bear nearly invisible carvings. A ship here, a compass rose there aligned with key maritime dates in Pisa's history. One panel near the entrance depicts waves and a lighthouse, mirroring the view from Pisa's long-lost coastline. The city was once a seaport before silt pushed the shore miles away. These weren't decorations, they were a nautical archive, ensuring the city's seafaring legacy wouldn't fade even as the land itself shifted. Modern engineers have added their own hidden layer. During the 1990s stabilization project, workers buried 3 titanium discs beneath the tower, inscribed with data about the rescue effort. One reads like a poem: "We pulled you back from the edge, not to make you straight, but to keep you leaning forever." Fitting for a monument that never aspired to perfection, just endurance. From its defiant tilt to its buried breadcrumbs, the Leaning Tower doesn't just stand crooked. It stands as a testament to humanity's dance with impermanence, whispering across 8 centuries that sometimes the greatest beauty lies in refusing to fall. The Leaning Tower of Pisa's 7 bells aren't just musical ornaments, they're a secret alarm system frozen in time. Each bell, cast between the 12th and 18th centuries, echoes a distinct note of the major scale, but their harmony served a purpose far richer than ceremony. The largest, Dal Pozzo, struck a thunderous G-sharp, its voice carrying across the Arno River to fishermen and merchants alike. Historical accounts describe its toll marking not just the hours, but emergencies. 3 rapid bursts signaled approaching storms, while a steady, mournful rhythm warned of enemy ships spotted off the coast. The bells didn't just tell time, they spoke in code. Take the smallest bell, Pasquexia, tuned to a piercing E. Its high pitch pierced through the clamor of the marketplace, reserved for urgent civic announcements. Surviving city ledgers note its distinctive triple chime summoned council members to emergency meetings, while a single, sustained ring called citizens to arms. The tuning wasn't accidental. Musicologists analyzing the bell's frequencies found their notes align with the natural resonance of Pisa's medieval street stone corridors that amplified specific pitches like a giant stone instrument. A low C from Terza bell could rattle the windows of the cathedral, while Vespuccio's D floated clearly to the riverbanks, guiding sailors home through fog. The most intriguing clue lies in their placement. The bells aren't hung randomly, they're arranged to create deliberate harmonics when rung in sequence. Ring Dal Pozzo followed by Quintana, and the resulting interval, a perfect fourth, matches an ancient maritime distress call used by Ligurian sailors. Could the tower have doubled as a sonic lighthouse, its chimes cutting through storms when visual signals failed? A 15th century navigational manual found in Pisa's archives references the Singing Tower as a landmark for night sailing, suggesting the bell's echoes functioned as acoustic buoys. Yet the system had a darker side. During the plague of 1630, the bells fell silent for months, their absence more terrifying than any toll. When they finally rang again, it was in a new pattern: 7 staggered strikes, one from each bell, symbolizing the city's 7 gates where bodies were carried out. This wasn't just mourning, it was social engineering. The cadence, repeated daily at dusk, enforced curfew, driving survivors indoors while carts collected the dead. The bell's very silence became a weapon, with authorities banning their use during uprisings to disorient rebels accustomed to their temporal anchors. Modern acousticians have uncovered another layer. The tower's lean, long considered an acoustic flaw, actually enhances the bell's range. Tilting the campanile shifts its sound waves diagonally, allowing tones to skip off the river's surface and bounce farther across the plains. The mistake that nearly doomed the tower may have been its greatest strength, a quirk of physics turning Pisa's shame into a sonic advantage. From storm warnings to siege alerts, these 7 bronze voices didn't just mark moments, they shaped them, proving that even a faltering tower can still stand tall in the ears of history. From the Sphinx's celestial alignments to Petra's singing stones, these 25 monuments have guarded their secrets for centuries, not in locked vaults but in plain sight. Each one whispers a different truth, that history isn't just written in books but etched in stone, encoded in starlight, and even buried beneath the footsteps of millions. The Great Pyramid's precise mathematical ratios, the Taj Mahal's echoing solstice shadows, the Leaning Tower's defiant tilt, none of these were accidents. They were messages left by civilizations who knew their voices might fade, but their stones would endure. Think about the sheer audacity of it. The Maya didn't just build Chichen Itza, they turned an entire pyramid into a serpent-shaped clock. The Nabateans didn't merely carve Petra's tombs, they engineered them to sing with the wind and water, and the laborers of the Great Wall, they left curses and handprints in the mortar, ensuring their suffering wouldn't be erased by time. These aren't just architectural marvels, they're dialogues across millennia, waiting for someone to ask the right questions. Now it's your turn. Which of these hidden messages resonated most with you? Was it Angkor Wat's dinosaur carving defying our timeline, Stonehenge's eerie acoustic properties turning stone into sound, or perhaps the Colosseum's graffiti where gladiators and gamblers scrawled their stories onto history itself? Share your favorite enigmas in the comments. We'd love to hear which mysteries make you look twice at the world's most famous landmarks. And if you're hungry for more unsolved codes, stay tuned. From the Voynich manuscript's unreadable pages to the cryptic symbols of Rapa Nui's lost Rongorongo script, our next adventure will dive into history's most tantalizing unsolved puzzles. Because the past isn't finished speaking yet, it's just waiting for the right listeners. So keep exploring, keep questioning, and remember, the most extraordinary stories aren't always in the history books. Sometimes they're hidden in the walls.